Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Nature and Climate House, or welcome if you have just arrived. My name is Maeve. I'm a climate journalist from London, come all the way here, 12-hour flight, but I'm very happy to be here. I'm sure you know that you're going to have a very productive afternoon full of discussions and workshops. But before we start, I have the pleasure of announcing the next fireside chat or fire starter chat, which is between Bernice Lee, OBE, who is a distinguished fellow and senior advisor at Chatham House, but she's also the co-founder of Bellwethers, where we are today. And Bernice will be chatting to Izabella Teixeira, who is the former Minister of the Environment in Brazil and co-chair of the International Resource Panel of the UN Environment. Please give them a big round of applause.
Thank you so much, Maeve. It gives me enormous pleasure, of course, to be sitting here with Izabella, who I actually also have the pleasure of calling a friend. There are a couple of things, therefore, I can tell you that you may be the first to know in the country. For example, she just joined the Strategic Advisory Committee of the BRICS Bank. So if she doesn't have enough ways to influence the world, she just acquired one. One other that I want to put into your head potentially is that she may well also be soon to be founder or co-founder of the International Resource Agency, if it all goes well. Because of course we now know that the world is not only going through climate crisis, but it's also one of resource crisis as well. Now today we have the pleasure of having her company for about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, before she will have to run off for another keynote speech that she has. So the last couple of days, Izabella, we have heard a lot about the bioeconomy. You and I are sisters because we both are basically students of geopolitics and are real politique as well, a real believer in real politique and not just as you would call fluffy stuff. So since we heard a lot about economic dimensions of bioeconomy, which is definitely not fluffy, and also quite a lot about the technical dimensions about the bioeconomy, I just wonder whether or not you want to share with us your views on the political dimensions as well, because of course, in a geopolitically fractured world, it's also extremely political. Would you like to sort of kick us off with some thoughts on that? Oh, actually, one other thing, everybody. Isabella and I both talk very fast. So if we are
It's
too
okay
fast,
for you?
can you guys put your hand up? And then we will slow down, okay?
You're finding okay, Bernice. We should drink it. We should go to a drink and relax, okay?
Yes,
But
yes.
okay, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me to meet you here in Brazil. Welcome. Unfortunately, you're not coming with me to Belém, but I'm sure that next year we are going together to debrief things and discussing some next steps, strategic ones globally. But I'll try to share some a big picture, not one vision. Okay, this is very important to be observed because the world is updating, as I used to say, but nature changed. So when you go into nature perspectives, nature by nature, you have climate change as a powerful driver. And as a powerful driver, you understand that this scenario, this perspective of overshooting of 1.5 means that we cannot put apart mitigation agenda, as someone has argued recently. Because the overshooting, nobody knows yet what will be the trajectory, but we need to reduce the time to try to be back to safe scenarios or safe contexts. So my first understanding is that mitigation will gain on the climate politics a new dimension, okay? I'm not discussing climate policy, I'm discussing climate politics, it's different, okay? And that this means that probably we will be exposed more and more to the trade-offs of short-term perspectives. They're struggling between how we can be safe or less vulnerable and how we go into this fragmented world, coming into the new interdependence among countries, and this post-Western order that is emerging today. So we that are the other side of the world probably will need to work hard to understand what is happening inside in the non-Western world. It's not the global South, the global North, okay? It's Western and non-Western world. And this is my first impression. The second one about climate change and climate politics is act adaptation. It's coming, not based on the arguments, on the perspectives that you had in Paris 10 years ago. Adaptation is becoming an international issue, not only national problems. 10 years ago, we discussed this based on national problems. And why? Because the extreme events, but also because of mitigation and adaptation together, they demand action or solutions, implementation of solutions. And this means that you go into nature to address really new agendas, economic agendas and technological ones based on resource. And resources are not only the natural resources, okay, water and land, okay, but also materials, the new materials, and the minerals and critical minerals that we can see how the power politics is coming to promote, to add pressure on climate politics. So my understanding is that you have a new political room where you have the climate politics coming to action agenda, implementation, bringing another adults into the room like private sector and business leaders and also the national players. The global governance on climate change not able to deal with it. And that's why you have this debate about multilateralism and minilateralism. Okay, I will provoke a session in Belém to discuss this. But the other way is that, okay, power politics is there, okay, and put pressure on climate solutions. Why? Because we have really don't have stocks of natural resource to deal with the demand, the really rich demand. And another way is that it's very fascinating this because indeed climate politics must be together with power politics if you want to access funds and if you understand how will drive solutions, to development. So digital investments or digital technological age will come together with industry, together with defense industry to dispute minerals and resource with climate solutions. Welcome to the new world. I'm sorry, guys, but we need to run faster because what we have today in the debate is not enough to drive the solutions that the world needs.
Well, so we have, you described a power shift. So the rise of the non-Western world, not necessarily as a rival, but certainly as another bloc. We also describe the changes in the geophysical conditions, there's change in the geophysical basis of functioning. You also talk about because of the need to adapt, we need new stuff and new, not just old stuff that we know we need. We know we needed water, but now we need other stuff that we now need to know more. And at the same time, when the world is undergoing also a technological shift, which means that all these factors are going to come rushing at us. Now, okay, so in this context, the role of the bioeconomy in your mind?
It's not only the role of bioeconomy. I think that we have some challenges. The first one is understand what economic growth will mean, considering the base of temperature and how nature has really different. We have a different behavior. Second, it's very important to understand the role of digital economy, or digital technological age. Because the use of the artificial intelligence in the next 5 years, probably the quantum intelligence, okay? This means that we'll be able to plan better things and to understand better what the rise of temperature impacts will mean, okay? So, and to have this, we need to access nature. And we name this circularity, okay? In Brazil, we have some difficulties to understand this because circularity is supposed to be on the recycling. But circularity means the domain of resources and how we could have efficient and sufficient use of resource, okay? So the economies, the global economy will change in different paces. We have bioeconomy, social bioeconomy, green economies, and have a circular economy, a flamingo economies. You can name everything, okay? It's not a problem. Probably you name this because we have technologies to manage it, and also you need another adults in the room to drive solutions based on economy perspective and social inequalities. But my point is that the planet is there, nature is there, and when you go to take decisions, it is, okay, nature is an ally to come into the future, because it's a solution provider, or we want to approach nature based on impacts. And this is the difference that we have today when you go into economy. But economy means that you need to go into growth. Private sector must be profitable. You need new business money, new business design, et cetera, et cetera. This is economy. And this you need energy, you need energy security, you need food security. Security is coming with a new meaning today. Okay, and it's back. That's why you have geopolitical game renew in a new perspective in the world, and also the geoeconomic coming. My last point is only probably people don't connect this, but I observe when you have a country like Brazil. Brazil is a country with an assets, with nature assets, we can generate life. The critical question is, we're able to keep generating life in the next 50 years as used to be or not? But look, to manage solutions in Brazil, one critical situation is about telecommunications and the infrastructure of fiber optic, for example. Brazil is the best country in the world, is high level of infrastructure in this. The costs to invest in Brazil, they are lower than to compare to other ones. So you need to combine this new understanding about how we manage digital age plus climate age plus nature age, okay, or bio age, I used to say, to make sure that we can drive solutions in short-term and long-term perspective. But for this, we need money, and we need to manage better security, okay? Not only because they need to be less vulnerable, but because to be part of the world and how we explore the trade-offs that today are on the table. So after 40 years of climate agenda, you have a global energy mix based at 82% on fossil fuels. So we failed, okay, as simple as that. I know that we have investments in renewable energy, okay, but when you go into India and other countries that are fully dependent to access energy resource, or energy source, sorry, okay, the political questions and the economic ones, and how the business were profitable and how the shareholders coming is different. So my understanding is that we need to take the right pictures in Brazil, in the world today, to understand our role as an emerging economy, to play or to come into the world as a solution provider. No, it's really interesting. This is good because we have this audience. We have a lot of ladies, welcome, girls. But look, Brazil has really good energy mix, electric mix. We have biofuels. We can have a tropical agriculture. This is our comparative advantage. None of them. The decision that was taken, or the decisions that were taken, were based on climate change. So the key question is, what are the key decisions that a country like Brazil must take considering climate change? And this is what the world sometimes, this is contradictions or trade-offs, okay, that coming because they are trying to buy time. And trying to buy time means trying to buy the control of the narrative. And the control of the narrative means the convening power. The convening power means the political or power politics. If you want to be part of this, and you want to fight against the climate cynicism, okay, be prepared to understand where the world is and what the question that must be answered in a country like this. If not, okay, probably you'll be behind the curve again, and probably will be out of the game in 10 years, or keeping discussing and struggling against deforestation.
So given all these trends that you outlined and all the things that we must do in some ways, even though they're still sort of in evolution in some sense, to get to where you think we need to get to, what would you do? What would you start doing tomorrow that is different from what you're doing
I think
today?
that dialogue, it's a political process, and nobody will have power based on problems in the future. We are not going to build up things based on fear and threats.
Yeah.
Okay, this means that we keep walking in clusters on bubbles. Okay, and if we want to be a country that could provide solutions, not 24-hour development, but to understand our realities and our inequalities, we need to have the future as an ally. And for this, we need to know how to unlock the gate, not the windows of opportunity. Windows is something that I can see the landscape. The gate I can go through and work hard. There is no low-hanging fruits available. I'm sorry, okay? We need to work a lot. okay, to come to say, this is a reality that you can come to influence our people and also to influence the world. So Brazil must, in the case of Brazil, you must know more about the world. Okay, we need to avoid a domestic
Yeah.
copy, for example. Okay, it's unbelievable how people want to show what's happening in Brazil without understanding what's happening in the world. And that's why yesterday you have a good news, yes, about TFFF, but nobody questioned governance, nobody questioned the rates of investment, nobody questioned the cost of money, nobody discussed. It's like your baby was born, great, but the grandmother, look, come on, you have the next 50 years, 60 years that I have to worry about this. This is what I need to be happy, but we need to understand the second, the third steps if you want to manage the situation based on reality and avoid setbacks in the future. Brazil is, in my case, in my understanding, we have really huge opportunities to change things. But the first thing, for example, how you come with our neighbors. You don't have any proposals to come together, okay? Consider the rivers of South America, in Latin America. And I could provoke you. You have the 3 tropical basin forests, tropical forest basin,
Yes.
good, okay, Congo, Brazil, and Amazonia, and Mekong in Indonesia. But this is also the new X of critical minerals in the world.
Yes.
Okay, so you again to go to polarize mining. No, I'm against. Well, okay, give up your computer, give up everything. Okay, go to the forest and be there and promote photosynthesis. But if not, we need to learn how to have the new and to frame the new economic and technological debates consider the economic sector. We are not coming on into energy transition. We need to have agricultural transition, industrial transition, everything is transition. So resource is the best word. Resource transition, resource security, that will connect the world. So we have to work a lot because we have assets, and this, I went with this. With people, I like too much the idea to have restoration, to have reforestation, et cetera, et cetera. This is really good. But it's not only to carbon, as a carbon sink.
Yes.
Okay, this means that you can have water reserve, and this means stocks of water, and this will value a lot in the world. So we need to understand how nature will become a value for us, okay, as society, and don't believe that we are going to change things because God wants. God is low carbon God, I agree, but we need to come to say, help us because we are doing the right things. And that's why things change.
I do appreciate that it's important to think beyond yourself, but at the same time, we also know that changes have to happen from home, right? So we need to get domestic politics right. But what is really interesting, the case you just gave us, is indeed that starting at home also means understanding the intersection between nature and mining, for example. And that is not just in Brazil, but you're talking about the 3 basins, all of which in some ways have similar kind of context, which is, as you said, interface between where the minerals and where the trees are.
Yes, Brazil is an important player on strategic and critical minerals. And the mining industry is changing, not only because of technologies, electrification, etc., but also because of geopolitical perspectives. And this means the oldest ones will remember what's happening in the 70s when we have the oil crisis. And the consequences, we had 2 important consequences. You have a new international order that emerged from this. Dollar became the currency that shaped the global economy. Okay, it was a powerful political decision. What we have today is another currency coming to dispute another realities, and you have OPEC. Okay, you have the block of the powerful countries in the world. Now with mining, probably you have not only the hub of resource or minerals and also the international agency that, in my understanding, should not be linked to energy transition, okay, as Energy International Agency wants. But we have, it's very interesting, probably we have OMEC, okay, the Global Organization of Minerals Countries, okay, mining countries, and how the industry will repack itself, okay, to come into the new context with an alliance with digital companies, okay, the big techs, and probably with an alliance with countries that could provide natural resource and also really a good industry. It's a new industrial revolution that's coming in the world, and people must understand this. So we need to have an open-minded and to prepare the environmental constituency to move from the environmental corner that we are today to trigger solutions that will allow us to come into really strategic, innovative economic and social dialogues, and not something that I'm against, I'm pro. I'm sorry, we need psychiatrists, we need new problems in the world, if not to be over.
I was going to ask you this question, really, which is, in this new world order, how do you find friends and enemies and frenemies?
This will be a fragment in the short term, fragmented. Okay, it's impossible to drive a new, because look, 5 years ago we have COVID crisis. We stopped the world, and this was not enough to redesign international order.
Yes.
Okay, now we have this multilateralism crisis that people discuss. I'm a part of the system, and so I'm responsible for this also. And we are driving now the new debates about minilateralism, which countries will come to support this transition, okay? But for me, what was happening, and Brazil was like a lab of this the last 3 years, that you go into blocks, okay? It's not only blocks that's geopolitical ones like BRICS Plus, like G20, like G7, etc., but blocks that they are structured in some interests. For example, by economy, we can come with some, and trade will play an important role. The new trade perspectives. Arbache is here, George Arbache is here, has a good paper. I published this, it's in the site, okay? It's in the SEB site, have a new paper discussing the political role of trade and how trade is coming to really, it's not to establish new barriers or come to protectionism or to avoid, you need to avoid the new extractivism, the new colonialism. So the international order is coming, will come driving these issues. And also, I understand that you have some blocks that will come together to drive convergence of interests. And this must see, I have interested you the next 5 years. After this, we have another interest, etc. And this means that we need to navigate, to learn how to navigate with global problems and global scale and global solutions, driving with our capacity to communicate and to have political mobilization, to convince, to mobilize people to work together with us. This means that we need to manage better trade-offs, okay?
It would strike me that in that case, in this world, Brazil's soft power is an asset. So Brazil's asset can be put to use. So I mean, maybe this is a good way to sort of for us to wrap up in the next 3 minutes or so, which is, if indeed you were to go about designing a set of institutional arrangement that is perhaps not fit forever, but certainly for the next 5 years.
Yes.
How would you go about designing it? And if we would finish that with our last thoughts for the
we need to recognize that we have the tipping point of the institutions.
Yes.
Not only the global ones, but the national ones. What's happened in this country after the Bolsonarism, it's impressive with the institutions. So it's important, for example, in my understanding, as a global, as a transnational perspective, not only a global, but transnational perspective, to tackle organized crime, but also to manage better global health. And this means that we need to understand the role of our public health systems. It's the biggest one in the world. And who finance this? Who reframe things? Who reshape things? This is institutional. I cannot have a dispute that is happening today in this country between one state and federal government that we're coming to finance, to really finance a public hospital based on artificial intelligence with high technological for SUS, and to have this small dialogue, political dialogue. Now, this is not mine. This is because of federal government. Come on. This is because of SUS, our national public health system, and this is why it matters. So, and who financed SUS? You know?
Yeah.
It's from oil and gas industry, okay? This is from mining industry. And you have yesterday the funds that comes for TFFF from oil and gas industry. So we need to learn how to dialogue, to really phasing out things, but to improve our capacity to provide solutions. This is what I say, that we manage the convergence of interests and also soft power, because hard power will come back to dispute natural resource and resource as assets. Why? Because I cannot manage any weapon, or rather anything in the world without critical minerals, without resource, without materials. So the guys are back, the guy are disputing with us these limits of the planet, not the planetary boundaries or tipping points, but the limits. And this is the language. Observe how I'm using some language, some words here, because I'm not jumping into the business as usual way to discuss things. The world is changing the languages while we are coming together. I hope that after COP30, and consider the legacy of our presidents and the legacy of G20 and the legacy of BRICS Plus, we can go in next year, for example, who will chair G20 next year? Marina, President Trump, okay? And France will chair G7, okay? Ask who will chair BRICS Plus. This is the new world that is there. You need to know how to manage things. You need to know how to really take the right decision to change things in the next 5, 10, or 15 years.
Well, as always, Izabella, you always give us a lot of reason to buckle up and tighten our seatbelt. At the same time, the good news is that you have outlined a lot of challenges that we know we need to solve, right? So we have the climate impacts, we have the digital economy, the rise of the digital economy, the rise of the non-Western world, and therefore the question around dollarization, and how do we pay for stuff that we know we need. So with all of that in mind, using your soft power and Brazil's soft power, it strikes me as one of the best ways for us to try and face the world together. So with that, I wish you really good luck as well as other Brazilians next week in Berlin, and all of us really wish all of us good luck next week, because we do need COP30 to send us this kind of signal that you're talking about, that we're ready to do business in a sustainable way, understanding the intersection between the extractive but also the forest economy, among others, is perhaps one of the ways for us to start thinking through how to face this new world order. So with that, please join me in thanking Izabella.
Just 1 minute.
Oh, yeah,
I'd like to add 2 comments.
Oh,
Stop.
of course.
Very quickly, because I have to run.
You have to
Yeah,
run.
no, don't worry. I wait for, I hope so. The first one, during this morning, I was in the United Nations meeting of co-chair International South Panel. At the same time, I have to leave and go to investment meeting with the big players, okay? And they're discussing the opportunity to invest in a country like Brazil based on digital plus resource investments, okay? It's impressive the languages, how the guys are coming. Why I'm saying this? Because we need to learn how to discuss things with the economic sectors and economic players. It's not give the money. It's not I have a pledge. The guy must be co-responsible to provide solutions and also to build things up in the different ways. And you need to understand the short-term perspective pressure on the guys, because this means that, how the costs are so high to be transformative. This is one thing. The second thing to be observed is that we need to come with the people from the environmental constituency, Marina here, Bruna and other ones for natural capital, to learn how to discuss with the other adults in the room. Okay, I'm not here to say that you should not be an activist. You should. We must. My generation, we are so activists. Okay, but we need to learn how to mobilize the guys in the same directions and to manage the trade-offs in short term again. If not, we gave up. And this is very important because this country must take really new decisions, consider our future. Okay, and based on climate age, based on digital age, based on nature, really political as a political player. And we need to frame things, not because we want, but because this makes sense for this society and for the world. So again, don't repeat that Brazil has a good and a strategic electric mix, okay, based on renewable, because this is not necessarily will be in the future. You need to discuss ways, for example, in the go to electric grids and cooperation. This means mining, security behind the scenes. This means how you can come, for example, together with Iran and another countries that nobody here in this room knows, for example, that you have Ramsar Convention because of Iran.
Yes.
Okay, so we need to open our minds. Okay, we need to have open minds. Perspective if you want to drive solutions and be part of this emerging world that, in my opinion, is fascinating. It's different, it's fascinating, but I'm convinced that we'll be able to drink low-carbon caipirinhas in the world. So let's do it, okay, because Brazil is back, I hope so. And more than this, Brazil must really understand the requirements of the future and stop moving the past. Okay, I ask you, stop moving the past, because this is not enough to deal with the challenge opportunities that you have in our hands today, and to do this better than to have been done the last 40 years. So let's do it, why not? Welcome to Brazil. I'm waiting I will meet you in London, okay, by February. And I'm going to Davos. I'm going to Davos?
We shall chat later.
So
but more importantly, if I don't push you out off the stage now,
I have to go.
I think Maria Neto might kill me on the other side.
No, don't worry, because they'll kill me and I have the also interview. So guys,
So
enjoy, okay? You have really a fantastic future coming, and Bernice is waiting for you. Bye-bye.
I love you, Dan. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think we're going to hear a few words now from Sharon at Bellwethers, just about the inception of Climate and Nature House. Nature and Climate House. Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you, Maeve. Yes, it's just a real privilege to be here. And wow, weren't those fighting words from Izabella to set us off for an afternoon of active discussion. And I think sometimes we need that reminder that we all have enormous agency, and we can use that to take baby steps, and sometimes that's comfortable and necessary. But actually, we're at a global inflection point, and that brings us to why did we start Bellwethers? 18 months ago, we formed this organization, but it was the result of several years of debating where the real challenges are. And we set up Bellwethers to really try and tackle one of many challenges, because we think it's a transformational solution, and that is around leadership. Where are all these thousands of fabulous leaders who have to build this new economy? Where are they? We asked ourselves. The same people were doing all the work, and they weren't enough. So after much debate, we decided to set up Bellwethers as a vehicle that would allow leaders from all sectors and all institutions to really challenge and debate the very difficult issues that we have in transition. And all transitions are bumpy. There is not one transition that's going to go in a direct straight line and succeed. So with that in mind, if you are here today, it's because you've been invited. And if you've been invited, it's because you are a truly respected leader. So let me first say how grateful we are for you sharing as a leader your most precious commodity, which is your time. Secondly, the thanks go to all of you for also bringing your full intellect and your full heart to some slightly different discussions, and we hope that you will find them enriching and fulfilling, as well as stimulating towards action. So there are many, many emerging conversations. I'm going to cut myself a bit short in the interest of having had a bit longer with the brilliant Izabella Teixeira and Bernice Lee. And I'm going to hand you over to Val, who's going to explain a bit more about how this afternoon is going to work. But I will look forward to seeing you all after your discussion groups. We have some fabulous opportunity for networking and a happy hour, but we also have the fabulous DJ Nelson D, and a few words at the end before we go off to drinks, a few words from Almir Suri. So you're in for a treat. We're in for a treat with gratitude for your time. And Val, here you go.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you. Bom, vou falar em português agora, bom ouvir um pouquinho de português, né? Estamos no Brasil também. Estou muito feliz de estar aqui com vocês hoje no Nature and Climate House Summit de São Paulo. Nós estamos planejando esse evento há muitos meses e ter vocês todos aqui, olhar para cada um de vocês, abraçar cada um de vocês, que eu já tive oportunidade, é muito, muito gratificante. Então, muito, muito obrigada por todos vocês terem aceitado o nosso convite. A gente está recebendo, no dia de hoje, mais de 100 lideranças nessas mesas redondas que a gente está construindo, mas mais importante do que o número, o que importa para a gente é a potência de cada um de vocês. O que importa para a gente é a atuação de vocês para construir novas economias mais inclusivas e mais verdes, né? Então, a gente está um pouquinho atrasado, eu queria muito ficar no horário aqui, né? A gente é uma British Organization também, mas a gente teve aí um contratempo com a chegada de alguns speakers, então vou pedir desculpas para vocês, mas eu vou terminar no horário, tá bom? E como é que é a nossa agenda hoje? Eu sei que tem muita gente curiosa. Eu vou repassar aqui alguns pontos que alguns de vocês já sabem. A gente começa as mesas redondas um pouquinho atrasado, vai começar em 4 minutos no máximo, e a gente tem 90 minutos de mesa. Tá bom? A gente vai conduzir vocês para as mesas. Tem uma mesa que está aqui e as outras 4 estão lá do outro lado, mas a nossa equipe vai passar para vocês aí. Fiquem tranquilos que vocês vão ser bem conduzidos para cada uma delas. Ao final dessas mesas, ou seja, 16h15, né, para a gente ser justo no horário, vocês voltam para esta plenária aqui, só para a gente fazer um fechamento. Tá bom? A gente colher alguns depoimentos de vocês. E, a partir das 16h30, a gente já tem o nosso happy hour. Antes, a gente vai ter só algumas palavras inspiradoras do Almir Suruí, que está também com a gente hoje aqui nesse dia. A gente tem 5 mesas redondas no dia de hoje. A gente tem as mesas que estão também marcadas pela cor, né, verde, amarela, e isso coincide com as bolinhas que vocês têm nos seus crachás, né? Caso vocês não reconheçam quem é a minha liderança, mas a maioria de vocês já sabe quem são as suas lideranças. A gente vai ter a Marina Bragante ou a Marina Elô, que está aqui também conduzindo a mesa de cooperação sul global pela justiça climática, desafios e soluções compartilhadas para um futuro comum. A gente tem a Vanessa Matias fazendo narrativas provocadoras de mudanças. Cadê a Vanessa? Está aqui. Foi no toalete, está ótimo, mas acho que todo mundo conhece a Vanessa, né? Vanessa bem conhecida aqui. Temos Daniela Garcia, cadê? Está aqui, vai falar sobre governança em uma era de transição, numa parceria com o IBGC. A gente tem Monique Dardenne, cadê? Vi ela aqui, está aqui, olha lá, para quem está com a mesa dela, a mesa vermelha. O papel da cultura na ação climática, entre a memória e o amanhã. E a gente tem a mesa da Bruna Constantino, que está aqui com a gente também, a mesa rosa, financiando a transição regenerativa, catalisando o capital para a natureza. A gente está operando essas mesas redondas no modelo do Chatham House Rule, né, da regra do Chatham House. Para quem não é muito familiarizado, isso significa que as pessoas e os participantes dessas mesas são livres para poder usar e divulgar as informações que vocês vão ter durante esse período dos 90 minutos, mas, no entanto, a gente pede que a identidade, a filiação, quem falou, de qual empresa, de qual organização, não seja citado. Vocês não vão ver a gente tirando fotos desse momento, esse momento muito especial para vocês terem segurança para falar nesse diálogo, tá bom? Então, esse é o segredo do Chatham House Rule. Em cada uma das mesas, vocês vão ter um guia, que as lideranças já receberam com bastante antecedência para poder se programar, mas cada um é livre e pode ser rebelde em querer manter o seu próprio modelo, e eu sei que tem gente aqui rebelde para fazer isso, que eu adoro, eu sou uma dessas, se eu estivesse liderando uma mesa, tá, gente? E tem também um mapa para a gente sistematizar, lembrando que é o nosso trabalho árduo, depois de montar todas essas sistematizações, eu conto com vocês, mas também conto com o AI, que vai estar um computador de vocês fazendo a transcrição, tá bom? Vocês perceberam que algumas mesas têm uma bandeirinha, né, do português e do inglês. Isso significa que a mesa de vocês vai ter algum convidado, né, falando numa outra língua. A maioria das mesas a gente está em português, mas alguns convidados não falam português. Então, eu vou pedir que todo mundo que estiver nessas mesas usem um fone para poder ouvir, né? Vocês podem falar no seu idioma nativo, né? Então, pode falar, eu quero falar em português. Fale em português. Eu prefiro falar em inglês. Podem falar em inglês, tá bom? Vocês vão ouvir, só peço para que vocês peguem o fone, se alguém tiver aí se sentir mais confortável num dos idiomas, tá bom? E aí, nossa equipe vai estar ao lado de vocês nessas mesas para ajudar nessa operação dos headphones também. O que mais que eu tenho aqui? Bom, contem com o nosso time maravilhoso aqui da Flowers, tem a Tereza, que todo mundo já conhece, Rafael também, que está por aqui, e a Carol Lima, minha fiel escudeira já de anos, também que está com a gente, e do time da Bellwethers tem a Sara, que acho que algum de vocês também já conheceu por aqui. Bom, por fim, sem mais delongas, nós vamos para as mesas, e eu convido vocês a ousar construir, ousar agir, criando novas economias mais verdes e mais inclusivas. Vamos lá para as mesas?